Hello, my name is Stan.
My name is Donat.
And oftentimes users write to us and say, I am not anonymous enough. They also sometimes say the privacy levels is insufficient. And in other times they say, my accounts were banned. What should I do? And when we start investigating into these issues, 80% of the times the root cause behind these restrictions boil down to few key points. And this is essentially the topic of today's video. And because it's such a stressful topic, we've decided to film this video in our Multilogin chill room. Donat?
So guys, recently we've been to a conference and we talked to one guy who told he lost around 30 Facebook accounts due to Multilogin, and asked how did he create or get those accounts, and turned out he bought them from someone. So I went ahead and asked how did you connect to those accounts, how did you change fingerprints or proxies when you bought them, and turned out those accounts had proxies already assigned to them, and those obviously were data center proxies, or proxies that were installed or deployed on data center servers. So obviously that was the reason why his accounts got restricted. If you try to do the same, if you create Facebook accounts on data center proxies, they may work well until you try creating ad manager accounts. As soon as you open ad manager, your account will get restricted because these accounts will have little trust from Facebook. So there are two types of proxies, data center proxies and residential proxies. And nowadays data center proxies won't work for almost all websites. Maybe for some rare websites they will work, but for the majority of websites they will be viewed as having less trust. And let's now check how to determine whether you have a data center or a residential IP proxy. Stan?
So let's open Multilogin application, and I have a few browser profiles ready right here. I have a data center proxy assigned to this browser profile and a residential proxy assigned to the browser profile. Let's take a look at the data center proxy first. Essentially right now we will take a look at how exactly websites can determine if it's a residential or a data center proxy. I'm using a website called dnslytics.com, a very good website in order to make a proxy or IP address audit. I am connected to this particular proxy right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy, go to dnslytics.com and search this IP address. And here we have information about this specific IP address. And the very first thing that we need to take a look, if it's a data center proxy or a residential one, is the ISP or ASN name. If we take a look at this column, it's written here Colo Crossing. And I already know, I will not Google it, I already know that Colo Crossing is a hosting company. Therefore, a website can already see that it's not being accessed from a normal internet service provider. It's being accessed from a hosting IP address. And therefore, it can detect that you're using a proxy. Sometimes internet service providers and data center companies and data center hosting companies can be the same. So the same company both provides hosting services and internet services as well. In this case, you may want to check the hosting history. If it's a data center proxy, then you may see that the number of hosted domains is more than 0. So it should be maybe around 5 to 10, but it's very difficult to tell specific numbers. But if it's a big one, then it's very likely that it's a data center IP. You may see that here it's 0. That's because it's a very good high quality data center proxy that we are using. However, sometimes this number can even go to 100 or more.
Yeah, and also this rule is not that strict, so it may be 0 domains for a data center proxy, and it can be multiple domains for residential proxy. And also all this difference is determined by websites through databases, and there are different databases, and those who make those databases of residential data center IPs, they oftentimes judge by themselves, like whether some certain IP should belong to the list of data center or to the list of residential IP addresses. So it's not all black and white, it's not all binary like 1 or 0, but the most important thing to understand is that some IPs have more trust than the others, and this trust comes from multiple factors. And one of the factors is how this IP was used and where. If it was used in a data center as a static IP for some servers, it's likely that this IP won't be good for accessing websites and for whatever you want to do there.
Good point, that it's actually one of the factors that you need to judge. So this is the example of a data center IP address. Let's take a look at how residential proxies are seen. Let's launch the residential proxy browser profile, and I am connected to this IP address right here. Let's go to the same website, dnslytics.com, and search for this IP address. Okay, and again, let's take a look at the first column that we need to take a look is the ISP. It's Comcast Cable Communications LLC. I will also not Google that because I already know that it's an internet service provider. It's a company that provides internet services, and this way already a website can see that it's a residential IP address, and it can trust it more, and it can give more trust. So basically a very important factor that data centers keep working less effectively nowadays. If you are using a data center proxy, please consider using a residential solution.
Yeah, and to demonstrate how all this works, I'd like to make a personal example. There was a PayPal account, my personal PayPal account, that I used to access through a VPN, through a corporate VPN, and never ever there had been any problems with that. But then I made a new PayPal account from my home IP, and it's basically the registration went very well. Then I opened the same account from my office IP, which is through a VPN service, and tried to order something from Fiverr or websites like Fiverr, and all transactions were denied, were rejected. And I started thinking what could be the problem, and I even messaged PayPal customer support, and they couldn't determine what was the problem. They just told me that, sorry, for some reason our automatic system denied your transaction.
So they don't even know?
Yes, they don't even know. So they just see that the transaction was denied by their automatic system, which determines how much trust this transaction has or whatever. And what I did was I started purchasing small things from eBay, since eBay and PayPal are more or less the same company, or the same company. I started purchasing. They have those transactions that happen between PayPal and eBay are kind of like considered safe. So I started ordering small things like $1, $2, $3, $5 from eBay, and over time I was allowed to make transactions to other websites, to purchase things from Fiverr and websites alike. What this demonstrates is that since it was not my first PayPal account, it was already my fourth PayPal account, and if you think how could I have 4 PayPal accounts, because you can have only one, actually those were companies' PayPal accounts, so you can have as many PayPal accounts as you want if each of them is tied up to some specific organization. So since this was already my fourth PayPal account, and this problem has never happened before. It only started happening when I accessed a new account from a VPN IP address. I made a conclusion that PayPal gives less trust to accounts that are being accessed through a VPN address, even though they were registered from a residential IP address. So this example, my personal example, demonstrates how all the stuff about residential proxies and data center proxies work.
Good story, Donat. So definitely try considering going for a residential solution. Okay, well, and we are going to get to the second reason now. And actually it's going to be a small controversy, and even sometimes residential proxies will also not work. And this is due to the fact that sometimes even residential IP pools can be blacklisted by websites. Uh, some residential services may provide residential connections. However, they might be sold to people who are over abusing them, and so such IP pools will just get blacklisted or have less trust.
It's not even about over abusing, but imagine, for example, there is some service provider that sells mobile connection access. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4 connection channels, and you access internet from some specific location as a mobile user. But what happens is if in the normal situation, maybe 100 or 1000 of users are connected to a specific GSM node, and of course they access websites like Google, Facebook. They may be looking for something in Google. They may be sending a lot of queries, but it's like hundreds of or thousands of queries. And now imagine that someone has started scraping results from Google and started sending tens of thousands of queries to Google through this node. Mm-hmm. And even though Google knows that a lot of people are connected to this node, this is still there are still too many requests. Mm-hmm. And if you start accessing Google through the same node, of course you'll see captcha solving tasks, and you may be restricted from accessing Google through this node, and so on. This is because this IP was over-abused.
And we actually have an excellent example of this situation right here. If you go to Multilogin, I have created a browser profile called Overabused Residential Proxy. Let's start and take a look. Okay, so I'm connected to this IP address, and let's do the same proxy audit we did before. Okay, let's take this IP address. And let me check. Yes, that's the one. Okay, and let's see the ISP. The ISP name is ETS Telephone Company. Well, it definitely looks like an internet service provider. If we take a look at the hosting information, it also doesn't host any domains. Okay, so we see that the ISP is correct and hosting history is clear. However, so it's a residential IP address. However, if we go to Google, Google asks us to solve a CAPTCHA. Funny, yeah? And this is actually, and this specific example demonstrates what Donat has specifically pointed out. Even if you use a residential proxy solution, it might be used, over-abused by other different people, and thus websites use their own internal databases to conclude if it's a high-risk IP address or a non-high-risk IP address. The only solution here we have is to definitely purchase proxy solutions from recommended proxy providers. If you want to know any proxy providers that currently are working well, you can send us a ticket on support. We will definitely tell you what are the current trends and what are the current good proxy solutions.
Yes, actually this problem with burnt residential IP addresses happens due to two reasons. One is you're using a service provider for buying residential proxies, which oversells their IP addresses, or who lets some malicious users to use their service, so which leads to those IPs or IP ranges being banned. So both are very bad, and you shouldn't work with such service providers, or at least you should be aware of what's happening.
And sometimes we do make an audit of these proxy providers, and that's why we can give a recommendation.
It's actually the first reason, like that you're using service provider which has bad IP addresses. And the second reason is that if you buy SIM cards, or you buy mobile connection or some other connection, maybe you're choosing the cheapest provider, and other people like you may be choosing the same provider for the same reason. So when everyone chooses the same provider in the same region, then the same situation may happen, that you just happen to be connected to the same node or to the same GSM node with some malicious users, and whose activity will lead to those IPs being blacklisted.
I have few Chromium profiles created right here, which is an old free browser, and you have the option to migrate it to Mimic, which has more protective capabilities and also is just more robust. Yeah, it has more protective capabilities. So if you're using this Chromium profile and you see that you're having issues on Chromium or Firefox, just go to the settings of the browser profile and click Migrate to Mimic. You will also see the same exact function for Firefox. However, you will have the option Migrate to StealthFox. If you have many such accounts, I understand that you will not go and click through them. This is why we have added an automatic bulk operation. If you click on this gear right here, select the browser profiles and click Migrate.
Maybe not all, but just those Chromium ones.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Just an example.
Yeah, so basically you select this Chromium profiles, click Migrate, and it converts the Chromium profiles in bulk. That's it.
So yeah, definitely use more protected browsers. The next key point is actually related to the browser profile settings, and it has to do with WebRTC. Now, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, we have recommended to, if you're using a proxy, we have recommended to block WebRTC. However, now we see a tendency that websites do not like the fact that you're blocking WebRTC. You may understand that if the website sees the fact that you're hiding something from them, they will not like it. This is why we have already implemented a WebRTC substitution function where WebRTC is substituted to the IP address of your proxy.
Yeah, actually guys, it's not the whole story. Basically 2 years ago, this technology to replace WebRTC public IP address and WebRTC metadata, it didn't exist. So we just recommended disabling WebRTC plugin and browsing websites without this plugin basically. And this information was published on different forums, maybe on some our channels and maybe on our blog. And since then it started spreading widely, and now people still find out that information, and they follow that advice, which is actually obsolete, which is 2 years old.
Yes.
And now it does not work anymore.
And right now, if you do have a browser profile which has a WebRTC blocked, let's take a look. I have a browser profile right here with block mode. We go to edit, and you may see that the new interface already tells you that there's a warning that WebRTC is off. And right here we can go to WebRTC section, edit it, and put it to altered mode, so that and we also can click on fill WebRTC public IP based on the IP address. This will take the public IP address of your browser profile and substitute it to the WebRTC. So the website will see when it will try to talk with the WebRTC plugin, it will see the real IP address instead of not available. So definitely use this function. Definitely allow the websites to see the WebRTC IP address which corresponds to proxy. Or if you're using a 3G connection where your browser profiles are connected directly through your internet connection, you can use the real function, because you don't need to substitute it anyway.
Yes, and actually here I remember that some guys were using direct 3G, 4G connection and were choosing disabled functions. So this is absolute nonsense. It shouldn't be done. And if you are using a direct connection without proxies, always choose the real mode for WebRTC. And also here I can add that our free browsers that we talked about before, Firefox and Chromium, they don't have an altered mode, so the only options there is either real and disabled, and obviously if you use proxies in your connection you have to choose disabled, and this is also one thing that contributes to unsuccessful usage of those free browsers.
Yes, very true. True. Okay, and the final thing is more of a discussion. The thing is that if you are getting blocked or restricted on most of the websites, do not try to dig into the settings of the browser profiles very specifically, like finding what exact function does not work, what exactly triggers it. Most of the times it all boils down to bad IP addresses, WebRTC, and other things that we have discussed in this video. However, the thing is that we do want to point out is that there is a setting in Multilogin which is called hardware fingerprints, and this is the substitution of canvas, audio context, and WebGL fingerprints. When you have them enabled, the website will see a 100% unique fingerprint. Now we see that websites do not specifically decrease a lot of trust just due to these settings.
However, yes, this is actually a very controversial setting, as people believe that just because you have a unique canvas fingerprint, or just because you have a unique WebGL image fingerprint and so on, you get restricted, you get diminished trust, you get banned and so on. And we believe that's not the case, because tens or hundreds or thousands of people work with these settings set to noise, set to unique values, and they experience no problems whatsoever. We believe that this all stems from the initial trust of the account.
Yes.
And to understand that all this browser fingerprinting stuff is maybe on the 20% maximum of things that websites look at. They also look at your IP address, they also look at your behaviors, they also look for your region. Some regions are nature have less trust in the eyes of websites than other regions, and it's a well-known fact for like years. And if your account initially has a very low trust, then maybe this hardware fingerprints with unique values will have some impact. They can become decisive factors in whether a website can trust your account or cannot. But if your account already has relatively high trust, these parameters just won't matter. They may have unique values and it will still work well.
We will have a separate video topic about hardware fingerprints, and you can find, if it's already ready, you can find the links in the description. If it's not, it will be posted soon.
Yeah, so if you're doing something and have some success rate like 60 or 70%, through this fine-tuning of browser fingerprints you can achieve a little higher rate, like 5% or 10% higher. But if you cannot do anything, if you just get your accounts banned and or linked together, then you're just doing something terribly wrong. There is some very rough mistake, and you should be looking into this like major issues, major errors, major mistakes, and not trying to find something small, not trying to fine-tune some fingerprints. Just keep looking for a major mistake that you're making.
It's like a 20-80 rule. Yes. Try to do 20% of the stuff to have an impact of 80% in success rate.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks very much for watching. We really hope that this whole video has explained a lot of things. We really hope that even if you found at least one thing that you could improve, we will feel that we've made this video with a purpose. Thanks very much for watching. Definitely subscribe to our Telegram channel. We post all new videos there, and you know that being in the upfront of this industry is the most crucial thing that you may have. The industry is constantly changing, how websites analyze different behaviors also change, and we try to post you on the most recent information in this industry. So definitely subscribe to our Telegram channel. We post not only the videos that we create, we also post different software updates, different news, and sometimes some funny memes as well.
Yeah, and also we just separated our YouTube channels onto English YouTube channel and Russian YouTube channel. So if you feel more comfortable looking at watching videos in a certain language, here below this video will be links to both channels. So choose the channels that you like more, that you prefer, and subscribe to it as well, because we'll be posting there the most recent news and the most recent information as well.
So, what's next?
The Surströmming party.
Surströmming party!
As you may see, we have genuine Oscar's Surströmming. It's a native advertisement.